Chapter 1. After I failed the conquest mission, the system gave me 3 days to say goodbye. I had finally become the perfect husband in Victoria's eyes. I no longer got upset when she stayed out all night, nor did I argue with her about handing over most of her salary to her crush. Day 1. She sneered coldly. If you had acted like this earlier, maybe I wouldn't have gotten so sick of you. Day 2. A frown formed between her brows as she spoke suspiciously. Eric, why aren't you reacting at all? Are you secretly plotting something? By day 3, she was in full panic. Babe, why aren't you getting jealous anymore? I smiled faintly. Isn't this what you've always wanted? When the system officially declared the mission a failure, Victoria hadn't come home in 3 days. Host, you only have 3 days left in this world. If there's anything you still want to do it now. Don't leave behind any regrets. The system sighed. I smiled bitterly and shook my head. We'd been together for 5 years, married for 3. I thought that as long as I kept trying, Victoria would eventually fall in love with me. But when the system ran its diagnostics again and found her affection level still below average, I was declared a failure in my mission to conquer her heart, and scheduled to be returned to my original world. Maybe it's for the best. After all these years, I really am tired. Still, I wanted to say a proper goodbye to her, to spend these final days with her peacefully. I kept calling her over and over, refusing to give up. Eventually, she picked up, clearly annoyed. Eric, do you not understand plain language? I told you, unless you apologize to Matthew, don't contact me. My chest tightened, like something heavy had struck it. Suppressing the pain, I forced myself to speak calmly. All right. She probably hadn't expected me to agree so quickly, and fell silent for a moment. Then I continued. I made your favorite, jajang noodles, today. Want to come home and eat? She snorted. If you had been like this earlier, maybe you wouldn't have disgusted me so much. Besides, he's still feeling unwell from the last time you upset him. I need to stay with him. And with that, she hung up. 3 days ago, Victoria's childhood friend, Matthew, posted a tweet for his birthday. With you by my side, even the end of the world doesn't seem so scary. Attached was a photo of the two of them, smiling at the camera, heads close together. They looked like a picture-perfect couple. All the comments from their friends were full of teasing and suggestive innuendo. I added a comment too. You two really are a good match. Within minutes, Matthew had deleted the tweet. Not long after, Victoria called me in a fury. Eric, today's Matthew's birthday. Do you have to ruin everything like this? I could hear Matthew's soft, aggrieved voice in the background. Victoria, maybe Eric misunderstood us. Should I go apologize to him? I don't want to cause trouble between you two. Without missing a beat, Victoria snapped. He just thinks he's more important than he is. What could possibly be more important than your birthday? I answered calmly. More important than our wedding anniversary. She froze, clearly caught off guard. She hadn't remembered. Then I heard Matthew's anxious voice in the background. Victoria, I didn't know today was your anniversary. You should go home and celebrate with him, or he'll be upset. Victoria just scoffed. It's just an anniversary. What's the big deal? Everyone's here for your birthday. Let's not ruin the mood. Then she hung up, without hesitation. Chapter 2. I stared at the table full of dishes I had spent the entire afternoon preparing. As they gradually turned cold, my heart did too. Ding dong. Another text from an unknown number arrived on my phone. You really overestimate yourself. Do you actually think you can compete with the years of history Victoria and I have? If I wanted to, all I'd have to do is curl my finger, and she'd run into my arms without a second thought. I let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. If someone had told me back then that Victoria would abandon me for another man, I would have laughed in their face. But now, the truth was right in front of me, sharp and cruel. As expected, Victoria didn't come home again that night. The next morning, I got up and found her in the living room, casually eating breakfast while smiling at her phone, obviously texting someone. The moment she saw me, her smile vanished. Her tone turned impatient. You're coming with me to apologize to Matthew tonight. Do you even realize how upset he was because of your comment yesterday? He was wiping away tears when no one was looking. I said sarcastically. I'm supposed to apologize. Should I say sorry for my wife spending our wedding anniversary celebrating another man's birthday? It was like I'd hit a nerve. She shot to her feet and shouted at me. Eric, Matthew and I grew up together. If something were ever going to happen between us, do you really think you'd have even had a chance? Now that his family's gone bankrupt, what's wrong with me caring for him as a friend? Stop looking at everything with that filthy, twisted mind of yours. I stared at the table and asked suddenly. So, that time at karaoke when you two kissed in front of everyone, was that just a friendly gesture too? She was momentarily speechless, then lashed out in anger. I already explained that. It was a punishment from a party game we lost. Don't blow things out of proportion. If you really can't trust me, maybe we should take a few days apart. You need to stay home and seriously reflect on yourself. I looked at her retreating figure, my eyes filled with disappointment. I couldn't even remember when we stopped being able to sit down and talk like adults. The gentle, patient girl I once knew had been completely erased by time. I lowered my head in grief. unable to suppress the pain in my chest. She never came back after that day, but thanks to Matthew's frequent posts, it wasn't hard to figure out what she had been up to lately. For example, I love the beef noodles at this place. Watching you carefully pick out the cilantro for me made it feel like we were back in the old days. LOL. The scaredy cat even went on the giant swing with me, but seeing how terrified you looked when you got off, I suddenly felt kinda sorry for you. Today, a kid mistook us for a couple and asked when we're getting married. I nearly died laughing. At this point, it wasn't so much social media as it was Matthew staking his claim. In the photos, Victoria looked radiant, playful, cheerful, full of life. For a moment, I felt dazed. It had been a long time since she smiled at me like that. Chapter 3. Victoria had specially reserved a table. By the time I arrived, most of the guests were already there. The moment I stepped through the door, mocking and curious stares came at me from every direction. They were all people from our social circle. Everyone knew the situation between us. One of Victoria's friends sneered and said, "Well, look who it is, young Master Eric. What brings you down to our humble gathering?" Another quickly chimed in, no matter how high and mighty, he still has to obey our Victoria. Isn't he here to apologize to Matthew?" Everyone looked at me like they were watching a show. Victoria was sitting on the couch, completely ignoring me, while Matthew sat beside her, so close their arms nearly touched. I walked up decisively and poured myself a glass of baijiu. "Since everyone's here, be my witness, Matthew. I offer you a formal apology." Cheers. Matthew shot up immediately, waving his hands. "Eric, what are you saying? As long as you stop making things difficult for Victoria, I'm fine. Just say a few words, no need to be so formal." Victoria frowned at his words. "What are you talking about? He should apologize. I've always protected you since we were kids, and I won't let anyone bully you." Matthew looked a little embarrassed as he replied. "Then Eric, just take a sip to show your sincerity." "Honestly, I'm not mad. It's all just a misunderstanding. You know how Victoria is, she's always been overly protective when it comes to the people she cares about. If she ever gives you a hard time, just tell me. I'll talk to her for you." I smiled but said nothing. Instead, I raised my glass. "Matthew, I'm sorry for what happened before. I let my emotions cloud my judgment and offended you. Let this drink be my apology. I hope we can still be friends." And with that, I downed the entire glass in one go. Victoria hesitated for a second. Only she knew that I was allergic to alcohol. Her lips moved like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she said nothing. Seeing me drink so cleanly, someone jeered. "Well, now that's some sincerity, but isn't just one glass a bit too little? At the very least, you should finish that whole bottle in front of you." Everyone burst into mocking laughter. Back when Victoria still cared about me, her friends wouldn't have dared humiliate me like this. But now that they saw she favored Matthew, they had no reason to hold back. Victoria frowned and seemed like she was about to speak, when Matthew suddenly said in a gloomy tone, "Sigh, it's fine. As long as Eric doesn't show up at my company again to slap me in the face, I'm okay. I have to earn my own living now. If you really can't stand me, just find me in private. Don't cause a scene." Victoria's voice shot up, furious. "You went to his company and slapped him. When?" "Just shortly after I started working there." Victoria laughed coldly, her eyes like daggers. I met her gaze without flinching and said calmly, "That's right. I did go looking for him. Back then, Matthew had just returned from abroad, and his family had gone bankrupt. He was constantly coming up with reasons to keep Victoria around. Sick with a fever and needed care. Couldn't take his medicine without someone to coax him. Feeling down and needed emotional support. Things like that. At first, I tolerated it, but as it went on, we started to argue more and more. Victoria, I'm your husband. When you run off in the middle of the night to stay with another man, do you really think I'm okay with that? He's got 2 hands and 2 feet. He's a grown man. Can't he take care of himself? Can't you focus on me for once? I want to be the one you stay with too." Sometimes she'd look at me with guilt and conflict in her eyes, but most of the time, she'd still run to Matthew without hesitation. Until the day he sent me a photo, one of them hugging intimately in his office. That was the moment I snapped and stormed over. He looked at me with a smug, triumphant smile. "Eric, you were nothing more than a stand-in while I was gone. Now that I'm back, if you have even a shred of self-awareness, you'd better step aside quietly. Otherwise, don't blame me when things get ugly. We still have a lot of old photos together. You know, if you haven't seen enough, I've got more. Some even cross the line. Want to see those too?" I couldn't take it anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. He touched his cheek, and to my shock, he actually laughed. "Eric, do you think you can keep her, or are you acting out because you know you're about to lose her?" Matthew kept his head low, still whining pitifully. Meanwhile, Victoria was already exploding with rage. "Eric, I always thought you were just petty, but I never imagined you'd be so malicious. You honestly disgust me." Then she turned her gaze toward the bottle of liquor on the table. "It's just a bottle of alcohol. What are you making such a fuss about?" She knew I was allergic to alcohol. I looked at her, stunned, in disbelief. "Victoria, do you really not trust me at all?" She gave a cold snort. Do you even deserve my trust? Or were you just planning to come here and put on a little show, thinking I'd pretend nothing ever happened? Every word she said pierced into my heart like iron needles, digging into wounds that had barely begun to scar. Before I came here tonight, I still held onto a tiny shred of hope. I thought maybe she'd just been deceived. Maybe she was just angry and waiting for me to give in and say the right thing to make it better. But looking at that bottle of alcohol made everything painfully clear. There wasn't any deeper reason. It was simply that I just didn't matter that much to her. Victoria, I finally get it now. My smile trembled as tears welled in my eyes. Victoria, if I drink this bottle, does that mean everything between Matthew and me is settled? She stared at me coldly. It's not me you owe. If you want forgiveness, that's for Matthew to decide. I forced down the lump in my throat, let out a soft laugh, and nodded. Fine, I'll drink it. Just as I reached for the bottle, one of her friends finally couldn't bear it anymore. Stop him. He's allergic to alcohol. Drinking that will kill him. Victoria's voice floated in from the side, light and indifferent. I'm not forcing him. He's doing it on his own. I gently pushed away the hand stopping me, whispered a quiet, thank you, and lifted the bottle. I drank. Tears fell as the liquor burned its way down. Consider it the price I pay for misjudging someone so badly. I felt my body growing heavier by the second, my mind beginning to cloud and fade. Through the haze, I thought I saw Victoria's face, stricken with panic, as she ran toward me. Victoria, loving you has been too painful. I give up. Chapter 4. It felt like I had fallen into a long, long dream. In the dream, I went back to the first time I met Victoria. To help me better complete the mission, the system had shown me Victoria's entire life trajectory. Her mother had once been the legitimate wife of the Lin family, but her father was a notorious womanizer, with countless mistresses. In the end, he was literally angered to death by a mistress who barged into the house to provoke them. Not long after her mother passed away, her father brought his current wife into the house, completely unaffected by the loss. With so many children under his name, Victoria, born of the original wife, was treated with indifference. Life in the Lin household was incredibly difficult for her. Then, one day when she was being bullied by the other kids, a boy named Matthew rushed out from the crowd and stood in front of her, yelling at the others until they backed off. From that moment on, Matthew became the only light in her dark world. But what she didn't know was, Matthew had only done it to look good in front of her. When I entered this world, Victoria was already deeply withdrawn. She was cold, calculating, and sometimes ruthless in her actions. The Lin family's old patriarch didn't think highly of her. As for me, I was the young master of the Law family, longtime friends with the Lin family. The very first time I met Victoria, I was captivated by her presence. She wore a perfectly tailored evening gown, and when she nodded to greet me, she was composed and graceful in every move. Midway through the banquet, a few executives who didn't get along with my family tried to get me drunk using both threats and flattery. Even though I had taken allergy meds beforehand, the alcohol still burned my throat and made me nauseous. By the second glass, I could barely hold it in. Then suddenly, the glass was taken from my hand. Victoria Lin stepped forward, her smile polite but her words sharp. Oh wow, what a crowd. What's the matter? Since you can't get anything from Law himself, you're going after his little brother now. I should probably ask if there's a new custom I wasn't told about. The group awkwardly shuffled away, embarrassed. She glanced at me and said coolly, don't pay attention to them. They're only good at making others feel uncomfortable with cheap tricks. Why did you just let them push you around like that? My heart warmed. For a moment, I felt lucky. At least, I thought, she was a good person. From that day forward, I began using every opportunity from our family's business cooperation to create chances to see her. I pulled every string I could to help her close deals, using the Law family's network to clear obstacles for her. When her half-brother tried to frame her, I worked day and night to find evidence to clear her name, but she remained distant. Even so, I wasn't discouraged. I believed that if I stayed by her side long enough, cared for her consistently, someday, her heart would be mine alone. I was naive back then, too naive. I had forgotten something, that in this world, not everything can be achieved through hard work, like love. Then came the unexpected car accident. Another company had tampered with the brakes. The collision was imminent. In the final moment, I turned the wheel hard, shielding her with my body. I blacked out on the spot. On the way to the hospital, for the first time, I saw her completely flustered and helpless. Her eyes were red, and tears fell on my arm. I gave her a weak smile and said with relief, thank goodness, you're okay. She burst into tears and choked on her words. Eric, I won't let you die. I haven't even married you yet. If you die like this, I swear I'll forget you and marry someone else right away. I chuckled at her childish threat before slipping back into unconsciousness from blood loss. Thankfully, none of the injuries were fatal. I survived the accident. During my recovery, Victoria took care of me meticulously. That was when her affection score was at its highest, almost reaching the system's average threshold. I thought I was close to completing the mission, and honestly, even if I had completed it, I had already made up my mind. For Victoria, I would have stayed. Our early days after marriage were the happiest time of my life. Matthew was off abroad, living a wild lifestyle. Meanwhile, Victoria was by my side, and we were building a warm, loving home together. Chapter 5. In a haze, I felt someone trying to take off my clothes. I instinctively pushed her away. "Don't touch me. Only one person is allowed to touch me," she asked, holding back something in her voice. "Who is it?" I replied a little shyly. "Of course, it's my wife, Victoria. Only she can touch me. I only love her." Then I remembered the way she acted around Matthew, and my heart sank. But she doesn't love me. She loves someone else. Every time she has to choose between me and someone else, she always chooses the other person. The person beside me fell silent. After a long pause, she said in a husky voice, "No. I don't love anyone else." I couldn't quite catch what else she said afterward. My mind was too cloudy and dazed. She just felt too loud. I pulled the blanket over my head to shut everything out. At last, there was peace, and I quickly drifted back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to the early morning light. The system spoke up excitedly. "Host, her affection level increased yesterday. Want to give it one more try? I can submit a request to the main system." I slowly shook my head, rubbing my temples in exhaustion. "No, I'm too tired. I just want to go home." The system sighed regretfully, then added curiously, "Wait. She's on the phone with Matthew outside. Want to listen in?" The system didn't wait for my answer and piped the call straight into my ears. "Victoria, I'm sorry. If it weren't for you being so kind to help me, Eric wouldn't have gotten jealous and come after me. You and he are husband and wife. I'm just an outsider. Don't worry, I won't bother you again. I've kept track of all the money you've given me. Once I earn enough, I'll pay you back." Victoria scolded lightly. "What nonsense are you talking about? Of course I should help you. We've known each other for so many years. How could I just stand by and do nothing? Eric's just being petty. I'll talk to him. Things will go back to normal." Matthew seemed hesitant, and Victoria picked up on it. "What is it? Just say it. There's nothing we can't talk about." As if bracing himself, Matthew blurted it all out in one go. "After you left last night, some people were talking. They were saying, Eric used to be so proud. Why the sudden change? Maybe he has some ulterior motives. I wasn't going to tell you, but I couldn't help feeling uneasy. I don't want you to get hurt. Of course, it could just be that Eric genuinely realized he was wrong. Don't overthink it. I just wanted you to know." After hearing that, Victoria's voice turned cold. "Got it." The system huffed in outrage. "Ugh, what a pretentious flirt. And Victoria, does she not use her brain? Her affection score just dropped again." I gave a bitter smile and tried to comfort it. "It's fine. There are only 2 days left anyway. She hasn't mattered for a long time now." I opened the bedroom door. Victoria stood there, arms crossed, scrutinizing me. After a while, she spoke coldly. "Matthew's a little tight on money lately, and his parents aren't doing well. I transferred my entire salary from last month to him. In the past, I would have exploded over this. We weren't short on money. Not really. And we certainly didn't need that paycheck. But a salary shared between spouses is symbolic. It represents intimacy, trust, shared responsibility. Still, now, it didn't matter anymore." I simply nodded. She frowned slightly, her tone filled with suspicion. "Eric, why aren't you reacting? Are you secretly planning something behind my back?" I smiled faintly at her. "What could I possibly be planning? I just want you to come with me to Grandpa's birthday tomorrow." She seemed to find the root of my strange behavior and finally relaxed, speaking casually. "Pfft, that's nothing. He's been nagging about you for ages. If I didn't know better, I'd think you're his grandson." Chapter 6. We went shopping together. Since Matthew returned from abroad, we hadn't spent time this close, just the two of us. Walking through stores like this, I carefully picked out all kinds of things: food, clothes, daily supplies, everything I could think of, I bought. Victoria joked beside me. "No wonder Grandpa loves you so much as his grandson-in-law. You're practically moving the whole mall into the house." I smiled faintly, not replying. Grandpa Lin had always been very kind to me, and now that I was about to leave, the hardest part to let go of was him. Let me at least do this one last thing for him. When the shopping was finally done and everything was loaded, we headed toward the parking garage. Just before we reached the elevator, I suddenly remembered something. We hadn't bought any warmers. I turned around in a hurry. Victoria thought I had left something important behind and quickly asked me what was wrong. I replied, frustrated at myself. I kept saying I'd get knee warmers for Grandpa. His legs are sensitive to the cold, and I actually forgot something this important. Victoria laughed in a mix of exasperation and amusement. "That's what this is about. You've been exhausted lately, probably just slipped your mind. Besides, it's the wrong season. You can't even find knee warmers this time of year. He doesn't need them now anyway. When winter comes, we'll come back and get them together." But I still wanted to go look. Victoria seemed to sense something, her voice turning uneasy. "Honey, what's going on with you?" Afraid she'd noticed something was off, I gave in. Thankfully, the system stepped in. It promised to let me exchange points for the best, warmest pair of knee pads. That night was the calmest I'd had since I arrived in this world. I made an excuse to stay up working and slept in the study. The next morning, Victoria and I carried all the bags out the door together. Once everything was organized in the car, she offered, "Let me drive. You don't look like you've been sleeping well lately." I didn't argue over something so trivial and sat in the passenger seat. The car ride was quiet. Out of boredom, I started fiddling with things. Accidentally, I opened the glove compartment. It was filled to the brim with snacks and candy. I froze, stunned. It took a moment for my mind to catch up. Victoria had always been obsessive about cleanliness in her car. She hated anyone eating in it. Once, when I brought breakfast in because I was running late, she kicked me out of the car and left me on the side of the road. She offered a dodging explanation. "That must have been from Matthew last time. You know he has hypoglycemia. If he doesn't eat, he can feel really sick." So her rules could change, for the right person. Her boundaries were only meant for people who didn't matter. I answered calmly, "Yeah, I know." But she looked unsettled, her tone uncertain. "Honey, why aren't you getting jealous?" I watched the scenery fly by outside the window. I was wrong before. His family went bankrupt. Life must be hard. You're right to help him. I shouldn't have been so suspicious. I won't interfere between you two again. She quickly tried to explain. "No, that's not it. You're my husband. You've always been the most important. He helped me in the past, and I told you that. I'm just helping him get through this rough patch. But I didn't bankrupt his family. Why did helping him have to mean hurting me again and again?" There was a time when Victoria would always stand firmly by my side, no matter what. That's why, even when her affection score didn't meet the system's standard, I still believed in her, believed that one day, we'd truly fall in love. But after Matthew came back, her unwavering loyalty disappeared without hesitation. That's when I realized, the version of Victoria I'd fallen for, the one who chose me, was already gone. And the one in front of me now, the one who couldn't even choose between me and someone else. If it's a choice between two people, then don't choose me. Just as she was about to say something else, her phone rang. I smiled at her and offered, "You're driving, let me answer it for you." The moment I hit the button, Matthew's anxious voice came through the speaker. "Victoria, where are you?" I just hit someone's car by accident. I'm really scared. Can you come here right now?" Chapter 7. Victoria's voice instantly turned tense. "What happened?" Matthew responded in a panic, completely helpless. "I was thinking about you when I was driving through a red light. I wasn't paying attention and hit another car. The other driver's making a huge fuss and demanding compensation." "Victoria, am I going to get arrested?" I could hear the chaos over the phone. It did sound a little serious. I let out a soft snort from the side. Matthew immediately recognized my voice. He tried to sound composed, but his tone betrayed him. "Oh, you're with Eric. Sorry for disturbing you." "Victoria, don't worry about me. I'll figure it out. My family's already in ruins anyway. If they want to sue me or press charges, I'll accept it. You just focus on your own life. Okay, you don't need to keep fighting with Eric because of me." His words were so heartfelt and pitiful that even I almost wavered. Victoria, flustered, immediately tried to reassure him. "Don't be afraid." She had just begun to say she'd go to him, when something seemed to click in her mind. "Matthew, I'll call Jiang Liang right now and have him come help you handle it. Eric and I have something urgent to do at the moment. Jiang Liang has the right connections. Just send me your location." "Okay." The other end went silent, then quickly hung up. I turned to look at her, a little surprised, then I couldn't help but laugh at myself. So it wasn't that she had no better way to handle things. It wasn't that she had to personally deal with everything every time. She just enjoyed the ambiguity, the vague emotional entanglements that stroked her fragile pride. That person she could never have when she was young was now within arm's reach, suddenly vulnerable, acting weak in front of her. And I realized, not only was she laughable, but so was I. All those arguments I used to have with her, they were completely meaningless. She still made the call to Jiang Liang, quickly explaining the situation. Jiang Liang interrupted her bluntly, clearly annoyed. "He's a grown man with 2 hands and 2 legs. Why are you the one cleaning up his mess? And Victoria, come on. You have a husband. You have a family. You should really be keeping some distance from him." His family went bankrupt because his dad embezzled public funds to party and live large, and Matthew lived off that money for years. You know this too. Eric doesn't owe them anything. Don't let yourself end up regretting this. Hearing Jiang Liang's words, I felt a strange ache in my chest. He was right. I never owed them anything. So why was I the one getting hurt by all this drama and ambiguity between them? After she hung up, she glanced at me nervously and tried to explain. "Don't listen to him." I gently finished her sentence for her. "You were just thinking about all the years you've known him. You couldn't stand to see him suffer, so you wanted to lend a helping hand. I understand." But hearing me say that, so calmly, left her at a loss for words. Just as we were about to arrive, Matthew called again. He couldn't hold back. "Victoria, I'm still in the car. They're all outside surrounding me. I'm really scared. Can you really leave me here alone? Didn't you promise when we were kids that you'd always be there for me? Are you going back on your word now?" Chapter 8. Victoria's expression instantly twisted with conflict. I spoke up at just the right moment. Looks like it really is serious. Maybe you should go check on him. If something actually happens, that'd be bad. What about you? I'll be fine. We're almost there anyway. I'll have the butler come help me carry the stuff. Still, she insisted on seeing me to the door. After I'd unloaded everything from the car, she looked at me and said seriously, "Honey, go on in first. I'll just swing by to check on him real quick. I'll be back soon to join you and Grandpa." I nodded indifferently. Then I watched her climb into the car in a rush and speed off, vanishing from my sight. "Victoria, I'll never see you again." The butler helped me carry quite a few bags. Before I even stepped inside, my phone buzzed with a new message. "Eric, do you really think using an old man can win her back? After everything Victoria and I have shared over the years, what do you have to compete with?" "Is that so?" I couldn't help but chuckle. I knew, if I'd shown even a little weakness just now, she would have stayed, but in these final hours, I truly didn't want to be with her. I just wanted to spend time with the only person in this world I genuinely cared about, and I wanted to know, if she knew that was the last time she'd ever see me, would she regret walking away so decisively? Would she still treat her childhood crush the same way? I spotted the old man in the distance and quickly pulled myself together, walking toward him with purpose. He was the one who had given me the most warmth since I arrived in this world. Maybe it was fate, but I'd always felt like we were destined, like real grandfather and grandson. I started introducing all the things I'd bought, going on and on, maybe a little too much, knowing this would be the last time. Grandpa looked amused, glancing at the butler and teasing. "Look at my grandson-in-law today, he's more long-winded than you." "What? Is he trying to steal your job?" His light-hearted teasing, the same as always, filled me with a deep sense of warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. Time passed slowly. Victoria still hadn't shown up. Grandpa's expression began to darken. With a stern look, he asked me, "Where the hell is she? She's not even pretending in front of me anymore. Tell me the truth, is this how she always treats you? Leaves you alone?" I quickly tried to cover for her. She had a really important meeting pop up last minute. "She's usually not like this. Don't worry, Grandpa, she's good to me." I knew these flimsy lies wouldn't hold up, but once I was gone, the kindness I showed today would become a blade turned against them. Grandpa had never truly approved of Victoria as heir. It was me who kept smoothing things over, working behind the scenes, maintaining the fragile peace, for the sake of the Lin and Law family alliance. But after tonight, she probably wouldn't be able to hold onto that position much longer. When it was time for me to leave, Victoria still hadn't come. Grandpa offered to have the driver take me back, but I politely declined. She promised she'd come pick me up and make it up to me. She should be here soon. I slowly walked out of the gated neighborhood. In my ear, the system gave a quiet reminder. "Host, everything's in place. Don't worry, Victoria's hitting red lights the entire way. There's no chance she'll make it in time. The little punks Matthew arranged are already waiting outside." I nodded in silence. Chapter 9. When the knife pierced into my flesh. It hurt, really hurt. Even the thug who stabbed me seemed startled. My consciousness was violently ripped away from my body. The system took over my phone, calling me again and again, but the only sound on the other end of the line was that cold, mechanical voice. "The number you have dialed is currently on another call." The system told me that Matthew was scared. He had begged Victoria to stay on the line with him the entire time. From now on, every time she remembers this moment, she'll realize she could have called someone to help me. I could have survived, but because of her, because she stayed on that call with him, she cut off my final chance to live. The system said my 3 days weren't over yet, so I could remain in this world for a little while longer. In spirit form, an hour later, Victoria finally arrived with people. The moment she saw what lay in front of her, her whole body began to shake. I was collapsed in a pool of blood, completely lifeless. Her trembling fingers reached out to touch my face. Then she screamed, like a madwoman, ordering people to get the car and take me to the hospital. A few people rushed to lift me into the vehicle, but there was so much blood, too much. Even they couldn't bear to look. They ran every red light on the way. But after I was wheeled into the emergency room, it didn't take long. Soon, the doctor walked out, face solemn with regret. "Ms. Lin, I'm very sorry. Your husband has passed away." Victoria lost it. She screamed at the top of her lungs. "No, that's not possible. He was just injured. He can't be dead. I order you to save him. If you don't, I'll tear this whole hospital down." In the middle of her breakdown, a deeper sorrow descended as Grandpa finally arrived. Choking on his pain, he forced his voice to stay steady. "Are you going to deny him even a peaceful farewell now? Weren't you the one who said you'd come pick him up? He waited for you for so long. Where the hell were you?" After the outburst, his grief finally broke free. "Child, how could you let me, an old man, bury my grandson?" I held back my tears. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. In the next life, let me be your real grandson and make it up to you." Victoria collapsed on the floor, completely broken, tears streaming down her cheeks. She whispered, "Hubby, I'm sorry. I thought we had our whole lives ahead of us. I really regret it now. Please come back." "Okay, I shouldn't have thrown you aside for someone else. I'll change. I swear I will. Just please come back. But the only response she got was soul-crushing silence. That unbearable pain. Shortly after completely losing consciousness, I woke up again. Back in the real world. My best friend, immediately shouted for the doctor in excitement. In this world, I had died trying to save 2 children from drowning. The system had detected my consciousness at the last moment and gave me 2 options. 1. Wake up after a few days in a coma. 2. Enter a novel world and complete a mission, earning points in exchange for rewards. I chose the second. Unfortunately, I failed the mission, so those generous rewards had nothing to do with me anymore. I had hoped to exchange those rewards for money to help more underprivileged children stay in school. Soon after I recovered, I left the hospital and went back to work, continuing to quietly support children who had dropped out of school due to poverty. Half a year later, during a casual chat, the system suddenly brought up that other world. Host, did you know? Victoria and Matthew, they're both dead. I was a little surprised, a little dazed. It had been so long since I heard their names, it all felt like a past life. The system kept gossiping. I only heard from a colleague. Turns out the thugs were traced back to Matthew. Grandpa personally had him dragged back. The Lin family used to have underground connections. You know, rumor has it he was tortured for half a month before he finally died. As for Victoria, after you died, she was stripped of her heir status and kicked out of the house. She drowned herself in alcohol every day. One day, she saw something at the lake, stepped in, and never came back. After hearing all this, I didn't feel much of anything. Those people, those events, they no longer mattered to me, though I did feel a bit of regret about those rewards I didn't get. Right now, my abilities were limited. I could only help so few children. The system must have picked up on my thoughts. Even though you didn't finish the mission, Victoria's affection level hit max after you left. That technically fulfilled the criteria, so we made a special exception and granted you the reward anyway. And since I know what you care about, I converted all your points directly into bank account credit. I opened my phone and silently counted the zeros in my balance. I took a deep breath, then screamed in pure excitement. With this money, I could finally do more meaningful things. The world is vast and full of color, and now, I finally have time to experience it all.